Alrighty. Well, hi. I'm Roger, and I served as a military photojournalist for 5 years. I served about 8 years in the Army, just shy of 8 years. And I spent the first 3 years as an infantryman. I deployed to Ukraine, trained all over the place. I was a light infantryman. For those of you who don't know what that means, it means I carried everything on my back. I'm going to try and position my microphone to where there's not a huge amount of difference between the left and right channel. But I was just for some context, I was a smart kid going into the military. What I didn't have was perspective. I was a little bit sheltered as a teenager, and one thing I didn't have a grasp on was real, true hard work. I just didn't. I knew adventure, and I knew things like that I wanted to do, and I looked at Army posters and videos and ads, and I said with confidence, that's what I want to do. Until it came time to get off that bus at basic training and actually do the damn thing. I accidentally opened Photoshop here, so my computer is having a whirl of a time. But back to the topic. I was a teenager with ADHD, and I'm an adult with ADHD now. Nothing has changed, except for my ability to deal with it. Through the Army, I did that. But it definitely led to some, I'll say, conflicts. It was a strength of mine, I'll say. I've learned to make my ADD and ADHD a work for me. So there used to be a YouTuber called Mr. Safety. He had a cat named Sparta, and he was like my idol. I loved cats, and I loved the way he made his videos. It's so enthusiastic, and it was just good-hearted stuff. And I was a big fan of that. And he said one thing that really made an impression on me, and it was that he had hyperactivity disorder, which I don't think it's a disorder, and I don't think he did either. He said, it makes me as creative as I am. It's something that's worked for me. So I went in thinking, hey, this definitely could work against me. But if it doesn't, I can make this work for me. And it absolutely did. I'm pretty creative. I'd like to think that. And I adapted that creativity to in an operational sense, at the tactical level and beyond when needed. I didn't work a lot past the tactical level, but I ended up being in some rooms that worked at the operational and strategic level. And I had a great 8 years in the Army. Yeah, there were some bumps. For everybody, there will be some ups and downs, lefts and rights, but that's to be expected. Anyway, I went through life as an infantryman, a light infantryman. I carried my house on my back, and I walked for miles and miles, and I never had a combat deployment, which I was a little salty about. But now that I'm beyond it all, I count my blessings. Because I have heard stories and recountings of tales by people who have been in combat. And I'll tell you, they learned stuff from combat, the things that I wanted to learn. They, were seasoned because of it and those things. But from what I gathered is those experiences weren't always worth the toll that they took, be that a physical toll or something intangible. I consider myself lucky to have never faced an enemy in combat. That's not to say that I didn't have my own conflicts outside of conventional, the terms of conflict. Anyone who goes in the military experiences a great deal of conflict internally and externally, socially, all sorts of things. It's just a world of difference. You literally enter a new world in the military. So anyway, I learned a bunch as an infantryman. And the thing that helped me as a photojournalist that I learned in the infantry was a sense of safety. And a sense of what operations look like. Now, public affairs gave me a much wider lens, as to what different operations looked like. But as far as on the ground, squad movements, things like that, I had a very good idea of it because of the time I spent as an infantryman, as a rifleman, and all the positions in the squad. I could conceptualize that before I ever went on a photo shoot. I could tell what it was going to look like because of the time I had spent training and deployed as an infantryman. Now, Another thing I learned was great leadership. There were fantastic leaders that I had in the Army, mainly in the infantry. When I got to public affairs, not everyone has that experience. And so there were definitely some times when the leaders I was salty. So when a leader didn't meet my expectations, I looked, you could see it in my face. And that hurt a lot of feelings. But I just wasn't pulling those punches. Not all the time. Sometimes I did, but... and I'm thinking of a certain duty station when I say that. I had a great time here in my state that I live in now. There is a National Guard base that I worked at as an active duty public affairs, as a photojournalist. And here, I learned a lot. I learned a ton. Very little of what I say here is going to apply there. Well, some of it will. I'll go ahead and I'll tell you guys about that stuff. But I had great leaders here. I'll say that. That's not just me covering my butt because they might see this. No, seriously, I thought at the end of 3 years as an infantryman that I had learned everything I could learn from the Army. I was dead wrong. And when I heard that I'd be coming here to this duty station, which, by the way, is mostly non-commissioned officers, actually all non-commissioned officers and officers, E6 and above. I was an E5. I came here as an E4. I had so much to learn. And in the last 4 or 5 years, I learned as much as I could ask for. And it was great. So, anyway, I'm going to talk about my experiences as a photojournalist through the lens of my photos. I'm going to come open up in Windows Media Player. I'm going to open my portfolio. And I'm going to go through my experiences and the things I learned. And if you are a photojournalist, things you could take away from this, especially if you're looking into being a military photojournalist. Now, if you are in a similar boat to me and you're wondering, well, how do I switch? How do I go from being an infantryman? Somebody who spends days and days, weeks in the field, deploys, does all the crazy stuff that everyone who's not an infantryman looks at and is like, hey, I'm glad I'm not an infantryman. Ruck marching at 1 a.m. until 10 and beyond. How do you make that switch? For me, it was not easy. It was so difficult. It was night and day for me. But I did it. Not entirely successfully, because that part of me that's an infantryman never left. And usually it never will. But anyway, if you're interested in being a military photojournalist, I hope this video allows you to glean nuggets of knowledge and perspective that could help you paint the picture in your own head of what your experience might be, what's expected of you, the things you could do to help in a small way. I can't guide your hand through everything. I'm just a man on a TV screen to you right now. But I'll see if I can't be of some use, So let me switch this scene over to, hello, these are my clones. And what we're looking at here is a photo. Let me contextualize this. Context is very important because without context, people die. And that is dramatic, but it's correct. There's a lot of value in context. Make or break entire operations. No matter how big, no matter how small. So anyway, oh man. All right, this portfolio has pictures that are from all over the place. I have so many photos that I have taken, I could not possibly put them all in this portfolio. What I could do is pick my best, what was available to me, literally what I could find. I have so many photos, it was hard to find them sometimes. That's bad storage ethics, but leave it to me. And I compiled them here, the ones I could find. My favorites. And so this is a portfolio that I use to market myself as a photographer, which I have not done fantastically well. So in that, I can only give you what I've heard from other people because I'm not in photography anymore. I am a little bit. I do social media managing and small scale photography, but as far as going out and covering operations, I don't do that anymore. I would do it if I felt like it, but I don't. Anyway, I became a photojournalist out of luck. Somebody gave me. I became one of my friends got out. He was the unit public affairs representative. He was the infantryman with a camera for my unit. And I thought that was so cool. I was like, that's a job? Are you kidding me? I've always wanted to be a photographer, a videographer. And when he got out of the Army, I had the chance to step in and show that I could do the job. And so I did. And it landed me in 5 years of being a photojournalist for the U.S. Army. It could have been more. I chose to get out. So here we go. All right. So I was a UPAR in this photo. The first few photos are going to be when I was an infantryman with a camera. And this is at a military ball. And I thought it was my chance. Look, I've got a camera in my hands now. I could be artsy. And so I usually balanced the artsy photos with the not artsy photos, you know, the storytelling photos versus photos that made a sort of artistic impact, ones that had my creative liberty actually put into them. I tried to be able to do both, but the photos that give information, that tell the broad story of what happened here, those to me take precedence. They're the photos that you have to make sure you get so that you can justify getting the other photos. Because if all I got was some artsy photos, what did you do? I can't look at those photos and tell what happened, and that to me wasn't good photojournalism. You want to tell the story, and then if you want to be cheeky and take your good snaps, go ahead. But you are in the military, and your mission is to get photos that tell the story. Now, if this story is something that is supposed to have a feeling and deliver an emotion, absolutely. Go ahead. If you're making a feature and the point of the feature is to show tragedy, take artsy photos that highlight that and the feelings involved. But military ball, I wanted to show how somber these people moved, how serious it was that we post the colors. And so you see everyone in the background here is all standing up. They weren't like that before that, and they weren't like that after that. This is a moment of solitude. We recognize the fallen during the toast and stuff. The military ball is great, but it has a lot of somber moments, and I wanted to highlight that contrast here. I mean, there's already drinks on the tables, but during this, everybody gets up, stands at attention, and recognizes the flag. So this is me at the same military ball. Man, just a baby. Man, I still can't believe I was a grunt. And man, I was ferocious. Kind of, in my own head. I avoided conflict, I think, in most places. But within myself and in private, I was a warfighter. I didn't like to show it for some reason. But I had a ferocity and a knack for all of this. I loved to learn about it. Part of me misses it. Part of me is like, I don't need to do that because I forget how bad, like you forget how bad getting a shot is until you go and get a shot and it hurts like a bitch. That's like the infantry. It's love-hate when you're in, and then you miss it when you're out. But then you see a bunch of infantrymen doing some dumb shit, and you're like, I am so glad I have my DD-214, or I'm in another MOS. So here is one of the photos that I took during a really cool mission. It was, this is the third ID. This photo was released. All of these photos were released. And so I don't have to worry about privacy. If you find yourself in this video and you want to be taken out of it, go ahead. Now, I will edit it, re-upload it, or just take it down completely. I care about that a lot, and I always did as a photographer. If somebody requested privacy, go on right ahead. Sometimes I had to say no, but most of the time, I'd be like, sure, dude, I don't need to get this photo. Anyway, these guys were all plotting points, and they are mortarmen. So, or this is like a platoon headquarters element. I didn't put any more photos from this event in this portfolio, but we were running at, through the woods, posting up mortars, firing them in a direction, and then Apaches would come in and fire. So there was a lot of things to photograph here. I tried to get all angles of it. It was mostly a video package, so this is one of the few photos I took. Because after this, I was sprinting through the woods with a camera instead of a rifle, taking photos and doing great, getting good photos. It was fun. I had never been tagged along with mortars. I was an 11 Bravo. These are Charlies. And I got to go see what they do. And it was really cool. There were 60 millimeter mortars, and they would just post them up on the ground, and a bunch of mortarmen would stand around doing, like whatever mortarmen do, and they'd fire them off. And I'd be like, oh, shit. And it was fun. I didn't get to do as much of this stuff outside of being an infantryman, just because people don't generally want PAO on their live fires. But the UPAR, they know is an infantryman. But being public affairs, people wouldn't take into account that I had been in 11 Bravo. And I knew my way around this stuff. And who knows, maybe that saved my skin. So anyway, I like this photo for just for how kind of Renaissance-like it is. Everyone is very focused, but all part of the same team. They're all connected on these radios here. And look at the sheer amount of communication there. So this is when I got to where I am now, when I was stationed here and not just living here as a civilian. This is my first time photographing like a National Guard unit. And you can see they got a lot of mismatched stuff. I think I went out there with a 24 to 105, which is a variable zoom lens. It's not super versatile. If you're a good photographer, you can make a lot of use out of this lens. And I like to think I was, but I didn't quite know just how versatile the lens was. So I had some pretty general shots here. There's not a lot of to me, it doesn't look crazy. Now it's raining. And that's something I was okay with. Your camera it gets wet. It's your equipment. Yeah. And I didn't know at the time how long it would take for the Army to get you replacements, but, it's a 50 cal shoot. I couldn't get a lot of cool photos because up here were just paper targets, 10 meters away. And so I just got what I could. I kept the shutter speed low because the light was low. And I don't want to sacrifice quality. And so I get this cool shot of showing that I think this was deliberate, that he is throwing the rounds in there. You can see that he is doing that. You put the claw down, you put the tray down, or the tray cover down, and then you let loose. These are 50 cal stuff, but it's cool. It's a big gun, and I took photos of it, so I wanted it in here. And it shows the ability to keep something sharp but show movement. This is a photo from a Best Warrior competition. I framed this guy here. As you can see, I take photos that just show what's happening. It's not like a photo of a notebook with a guy's finger next to it. It's not just a picture of a guy with a phone, the dog bone mic next to his face. I'm showing that there is an OCT, an observer coach trainer from the unit that I was in, and then he's watching diligently as somebody does his task. You can almost glean what's going on here just from that. He's being watched. He's being assessed. He's a staff sergeant. You even see his name, a unit he deployed with, his experience there. And he is making a call. Right now he's calling in a medevac. That's probably something that you can't tell from the photo, but you can only do so much most of the time. So I tried to show that, and I used principles that we learn in photography school. They like it when you frame stuff. It also is just nice. It points your eye towards the thing. All right, this is a photo of a guy. Super cool. Great NCOs in this unit. A lot of color in this photo. I think I used my own camera for this. I think this was a 50 millimeter. Let's see. Can I go into file info? Alrighty. Yep. This is a Sony camera, so it was mine. This is before we got our Army cameras. This is a 35 millimeter. Was it F5? 120, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to get into all that. But we were volunteering here. And this was an example of something that was we showed up and it wasn't as grand as I thought it was. And so I was like, oh man, you like to have something that looks really great. It ended up being cloudy. It was just sort of we're earth moving as soldiers. It wasn't anything crazy. So I was like, how am I going to show this to be something for what it is, really, because in a nice sense, this was a very important thing that we did. We fixed up this sign and we helped. And that, in a perfect world, is enough. And that's great. And we did. Turns out the next day, an earth mover came and fucking did more work than we did in hours, in like 5-10 minutes, right? But we did what we could. And it's the thought that counts, there. So I tried to just show that we worked hard out there. And tried our damnedest to make a difference. And so here is a photo of that. I like to highlight the soldier. I love to highlight the soldier because they're doing the hard work. The subject, the foreground. This was a good photo. And these aren't photos that I just walked up and took and walked away. Like, I was here and I did this stuff. And then I grabbed my camera and I took the picture, put it back in the truck or whatever. And I came back out and I kept helping. And that was what I did. Because as an infantryman, it felt bad to pick up a camera instead of a rifle. And that never left me. I was like, as time went on, I got more used to just having the camera because the demands as a photographer took away from my ability to help. They just did. I'd love to help everywhere. Sometimes what you're asked to do as a photographer is too much for you to be able to extend yourself and help during stuff like this. But when I could, I would. And that is valued. That pins you as a member of the team. And that's what you want to be. Because I was a member of a team, they let me come out here. Because they knew that I wouldn't just be some butthead coming out with a camera and leaving, being like, I'm hungry. No. I came out, and I helped. So, this was fun. We got in the newspaper for this, I think. So this was at it was like a children's day, and our soldiers came out, many of them parents, to help and mentor these kids and help facilitate the games. And so that's a lot of stuff that we did for community relations, was help schools, local schools, because I'm a firm believer that you can make a lot of impact on somebody by showing them kindness and professionalism and all that good stuff when they are in a otherwise vulnerable state, and adults are shitty. But when we're not, it makes an impact, makes the impact we want to make. And so if I can photograph our soldiers doing just that, being professional, being kind, showing these children the way forward, and being role models, what better, right? And so this, I think, is a good photo of that. Again, cloudy out, so no like sensational light, but even light, and I like that. So got this photo. What was I at? I was at an 800th of a second. So kind of fast shutter speed at 2.8. So I was wide open as far as my aperture goes. 100 ISO because I was outdoors. And I think it's a great photo. This was a photo I took usually when I can't get super great photos of the people because they look a certain way. Like, the army is kind of finicky. I was always told, hey, if someone looks like crap, you don't take a picture of them. Not to say these people look like crap, but they didn't want to be photographed. And so I adapted, and I said, okay, I'll get a photo of this motorbike that tells a story. If you don't know, this is a Combat Veterans Association patch. Heavy in the motorcycle world. And so this photo, along with these guys back here, kind of tells a story. Even without a big human interest. Usually we'd have a photo of a person, and that's human interest. But this focuses on the motorcycle, because that's what these guys did. They didn't look at each other and say, what do you do? They were like, what do you got? What are you running right there? Like, tell me about your bike. And they'd talk about it. Talk about rides they took and stuff. And so, also, I'd grown up around motorcycle magazines, and a lot of photos were just like, it was motorcycle porn, And so I took this photo. It was in pretty intense sunlight, and so I was balancing that. The Sony is great because it shows me exactly the photo I'm about to take. And so I did that, and yeah, I had a pretty wide lens. It was my 24 to 204 or 224. Yeah, so good photo. Again, this is stuff I found out about by networking. I went around my unit and said, hey, what's going on? I looked at schedules, because this is a quiet event. nobody knew this was happening except for people who rode motorcycles or people who had to tell the people who rode motorcycles. It's a safety ride. They do it every year to make sure that the people in the unit know how to ride their motorcycles. And so this is a product of knowing where to be, when, and stay out of everyone's way. So this is a photo that I took. I don't have any Korea photos on here, which is crazy. I think all my Korea photos are, they're on my other computer, but I got to get that open. So these are all in Mississippi. But this is a photo of it's a celebration service, and they do this somber ceremony where they hand over the flag. Okay. Brain, do your thing. Almost everyone in my unit was like this. Now, these are Audie Murphy Club members, so these are distinguished members of our unit. So they aren't as, not everyone was of caliber as these people, but I knew these people, and they're great people. And they're exactly the type of people you'd expect to do this flawlessly. And them behind the white backdrop just shows, like, the focus on this. There is nothing else. There's no glitz, no glamour. We're folding the flag and getting it ready for passage onto someone else or something, or we're retiring the flag. It is a special ceremony, and it shows our respect for the flag, respect for country and things like that. The Army is very big on that stuff. Those are things that are always excellent to highlight. I suggest looking at photos, military photos. Go into National Geographic, look at photos there, see what people highlight. Read articles and see what photos people use for that article. A lot of photojournalism now is lackluster. Find good places, find good, like, well-renowned photographers, look at their entire portfolios. And it will help you and develop your photographic eye. Hopefully you are developing your own, and you'll be on your way to taking great photographs because you will have a good eye. Usually I could look at something. I could stand around these three guys who were looking at lanes that I had to blur out here. Some training lanes for a training audience that was coming in, and we were training them. So I was out there photographing these guys, getting validation from these two men, the command sergeant major and the commander. These guys created the training. These guys are validating it. They're looking at it and saying, hey, did you think of this? Do you guys have proper safety precautions here? What's the terrain like? Where is everyone going to be during this? And so I just took the classic, like, just short of the commander going, over there. Like doing because everyone gets that photo of a commander or somebody like knife handing something, and it's just a classic good photo of, like, look, the commander did, he went out there and looked at everything, which commanders do more than that, but photographers love getting that because it shows it. What more could you do? Is the commander around a bunch of people delivering guidance, as well as the command sergeant major and Sergeant Brash. It's an excellent NCO. He's also a fantastic lifter. He would always lift to anime songs, and that was always really cool. So a lot of stuff in this photo is stuff that people would never look at. So I captured, like, hey, this is the Raven Battalion here. That's information that gets lost. So you are going to expect people to look at these photos for like 5 seconds or less. So you just want to show, bam, tell the story. You can tell they're looking at something in the woods. If I put a caption above this that said, these guys are looking at somewhere to drop toys for Toys or Tots, you would believe me, because who's to say otherwise? Make it convincing that this is what's going on, and this is what I just told you before, not the Toys or Tots. But I see so many photos get captioned with, like, it'll be like a photo of this. It'll be like this, and they'll be like, U.S. Army Sergeant explains training area to his Command Sergeant Major. I'm like, what about this photo says that? Get out of here. Be descriptive and make the photo descriptive. Here we go. These are training units. 53rd IBCT, heading into a CH-47, a Chinook, in a training area, super wide open. Nobody's in a defensive posture or anything. They are beginning the exercise. They're getting on so that they can get flown into an objective or a landing zone and go do the training stuff. They got miles gear on, so this is all very contextual. This doesn't need a caption. The only thing you don't know is what the training exercise is called and maybe exactly where they're at, which if you're a geoguesser, you can tell these are like loblolly pines. We're somewhere in the south. You look at the grass, you look at everything. You can tell where we are. But you try to tell as much of the story as possible with the photos that you have. And if you're putting together like a gallery, like several photos, yeah, you can be specific. You take this photo, and then you get up here and you take a side profile of someone, something a little more artsy. But I always made sure that I captured these photos. And so in my portfolio, I wanted to show that. Hence, I don't have a lot of the more specific photos on here. There are some, but I tried to show that I was capable of doing that. Here we go again. A little more specific and a little artsy. I framed this man here. He's doing his checks through the cabin. He's like a team leader, squad leader or something. And there's a crew member's helmet. I think it's his. So, there's so many chairs and dumb shit in this photo, like sleeping pads. Not to joke around on sleeping pads. Those things make a world of difference. But you can tell from this photo, these are National Guard and they're training. And again, it's a little bit artsy. I love helicopters, so any chance I get to get inside of a Chinook, take a picture, I'll do it. This guy, you are not supposed to put your BFAs on the floor because there's the threat that they will punch through. And that damages the aircraft. Don't do that. These guys didn't get the memo for some reason. Anyway, I always shot in manual, so, 1/30th of a second. That's like half as fast as a frame on most modern 60 frame per second videos. And so I definitely took a couple shots to get this. We're ISO 100 still. I hate jumping above that if it's daytime. I just made it. All of these have post-production as well. You probably noticed that if you see how I treat the shadows, like I would treat this, I definitely bumped the shadows up because there was nothing for that light to reflect off of. Maybe the ground, but that was not enough to stop the sun from just blacking out this guy's face in the photo. To expose this properly, you sacrifice the light here. And so you bring the shadows up, maybe throw the deepest blacks back down so that you get the contrast in his name tape and stuff. The equivalent of sort of upping the contrast, but only for the darker stuff. So darkening the shadows. And so you get a well-exposed product. Probably the same here. It's pretty harsh sunlight. Not so much here. Pretty even light because the light is bouncing around. It's coming in from so many places. This is just a side profile view. This is me stepping away after that. I'm always taking pictures. Not always, but I keep my camera on me when I'm out doing this because if I see something that I can use, I know that it will be better for me to have more photos when I get back to the rear in my office. I'm sitting here like I have to write a post about this or make an article. If I have so many photos that I have a versatile set to pick from. You could use this photo to talk about just Chinooks. You could use this photo to talk about decals on Chinooks. If you were like, decals are getting a little crazy, you could use this photograph. You could even crop it there. If you wanted to, you could use this to talk about that training exercise and people would be like, oh my God, they're using helicopters. It's just take the B-roll, take the vague photographs sometimes. Similar situation. I think it was the same training exercise, but I went out with the scouts. And this is another example of networking. I had to go down to the lowest level to be like, hey, what's going on? Can I saw there was some scout stuff going on the schedule, like you guys are doing something or whatever. And, one of the observer coach trainers, people on my side of the fence, not the training audience, would be like, yeah, we usually have the background info. but I don't as a photographer. I'm so many places. I don't always get this info. So I got to talk to the people who do. And I networked being out here when this stuff was happening so that I captured the SP and actually went with the scout unit that's taking, gathering intel and being getting down low with them and making sure I capture what I want is the observer coach trainer being there every step of the way. His job is to mentor, take note. So we want to show that he is doing his job. And so this guy, is getting his sneaky radio stuff in, and this dude's, I think was, he's just doing whatever. And here we go. So looking at a map, they're pointing, you can tell, like, this is some scout stuff. These dudes got boonie hats on. It's not standard. Specialized pouches for radios and stuff, so you can tell these guys are of a different caliber. They're on a different wavelength here, and that's stuff I wanted to capture. And so this is the OCT. He did a fair amount of crawling around. We all did to be here, and so I liked it. It was fun. This was a fun re-entry into walking through the woods, which I did all the time as a rifleman. And so I got to do it again here. And I loved doing that as a PAO. If I could do that and show people that, like, hey, I'm a photographer and I can do this too. Mainly because I had done it before, probably more than these guys, but not all of them. Some of them are very experienced. But I did it day in, day out. So it was a PT event. I loved taking photos like this where most of these people knew me. They knew I got up in their faces and they'd be like, they'd look at the camera and go, ugh, and I'd have to wait till they got done doing that to take the real photos. But like, this is an officer, I'm pretty sure. And, he did a classic, like, as he's getting pulled by other people, and I'm pretty sure was a bigger dude than them. So they made them take him. And again, an OCT in the background. It's a big PT competition. So I just like this photo. It could have been warmer in the shadows, but Camp Shelby has some pretty intense, very warm sunsets and sunrises. So you can see how warm it is on the grass. If I made it any warmer, I could have selectively done it, but I chose not to because I was probably editing like 400 photos. So, yeah. But anyway, it looks cool. What was I at? Yeah, I was at the start line, so I was all the way up to 124 millimeters. So I zoomed in a little bit, 1000 ISO because the light just hadn't come in yet. Ambient light. If I were to take this photo at like base settings, this would all be a little bit lit. This very bright part here, and then this wouldn't be lit at all. I try to replicate how a human eye brings up shadows and drops down highlights, and so a lot of this is done in post. Another team event. This is a SWAT competition. We did a lot of community relations in that way, which was great. Our Raven Battalion and Eagle Battalion, our infantry guys, all spearheaded this effort to get into these competitions. And it was cool. Push a police car, go over an obstacle course, maybe shoot some stuff, some targets. Great. And I love taking these photos because it shows our guys getting out there. And in the unit, they were traditionally older. And so to show them still getting out there and doing crazy PT stuff, 100%, that roots us as a legitimate Army unit, not just someplace where people go to retire. It's not just what we do. And so I loved getting these photos. I loved interacting with local police departments, SWAT units, people you don't normally see in this setting unless you're taking a hostage and then the SWAT comes to you, right? So I got to see that stuff. And as an infantryman, I loved it. I ate it all up. And so great photos, great time had. Another photo, I got to be in it. It was friendly competition. And so some Army competitions are pretty they don't want you on the training field because you'll get in the way. But these guys, they knew I wouldn't get in their way. The police didn't really know me, but the Army guys could vouch for me and say no, he's good. And I was. They got some fast helmets on, obstacles, and just kicking butt. So that was great. This is not like a local school where they also have an obstacle course for police. It's crazy. And so I could do this and then go home. it was super great. I'm at 1,000, 1,000th of a second here, 250 ISO. I think it was late afternoon, so the light might have been, or maybe I just hadn't put it back to 100. It probably dropped down from 1,000, or maybe to get up to 1,000 to mitigate some blur here, keep it sharp. I upped the ISO because I guess I didn't care about the F value. 5.6 is pretty base, but it's a good photo. So another SWAT competition. So you see here, we've got Army guys and police guys. That's something I wanted to highlight. And I got to center this dude. I get to just be in this huddle and take a picture. Fantastic. They're about to destroy these targets. And I think it was just, intervals. You'd go up here, and then everyone would move up here and shoot. So it's kind of the calm before the storm. You see what's about to happen, and it's like you're in the huddle. I want to show people that perspective. So it's pretty good. I like it. Another photo. It doesn't really show any cooperation, but this was an example, I would say, of an artsy photo. During these competitions, part of my buy-in was that I would give these photos to local police departments. I'd say, hey, if I can come, not that they cared whether or not they got photos, but I'll say like, hey, I'll throw it in. I'll send you guys a bunch of super high resolution pictures of well edited, well taken and edited photos of your guys at work. Most of these I was like, I want to take pictures they can frame and put in their office if they look cool with a gun on their shoulder, which are photos they don't usually get, I'm sure. I'm sure local photographers get up in there sometimes, but operationally, not really. Does everyone have the guts to be on the sideline a little bit beyond the firing line, taking pictures from the side? Not everyone. Not everyone gets to. I'm in uniform. I got to, so I used that opportunity for a couple years in a row to take these photos, and I had so much fun. Another one, this time highlighting our unit, our soldier. This honestly could be like a Sig Sauer photo that they used. Sorry if I butchered that name. Cool competition photo. I know this guy, very well put together. He looks professional. He's good as a rock solid infantryman. There's a photo of a sheriff shooting a shotgun. I got to take a lot of artsy photos, photos that don't always tell this story, but are cool. So that's what I was doing here. Okay, so we had some fun being at this unit. So local college, we'd use their field and play the Turkey Bowl, and I would get one or two of these absolutely fantastic photos every year. Just because so much happens. You get a million photos, and I didn't have the crazy cameras and lenses that sports photographers do on football fields. So I was way up in the stands taking this photo. My Sony had 42 megapixels on it, so this came out fairly sharp. Here's a photo of this guy getting a touchdown, but it's got potential energy to it. He's about to. But what if he's moving so fast that way that he's not? So there's a little bit of suspense. This guy is about to tag this guy out, or whatever, He's obviously not close enough for that. But it's just a little bit of a Renaissance painting, You paint, it's good. I like it. I like this photo a lot. The photo of the civilians, not going to blow them up here because it's a little bit of a different situation. I value their privacy a lot. I'm sure they do too. Trying to figure out why that was in my portfolio. Maybe it was to show that I could take group photos where everyone's smiling. So that was sociable. But anyway, here we go. Just a lot of this guy is centered. I feel like there's a lot of energy in this picture. I like showing that. And it shows I can get on the ground. I can take a highly energetic picture and it come out all right. Parts of this are sharp, thank God. So it's good. Another one, I can, this guy's in like the middle of the field. If I'm on the sidelines and I can take this photo, that shows my versatility. I can get up to it without being actually up in it. I can reach out and touch someone. That's what I wanted to show with this photo. This guy is pelting this ball. And I showed that with this picture. So I actually went to Puerto Rico for all these photos, where we do what we call train the trainer. And this was an example of like months of preparation to say, like, you guys are going on this trip? I'd like to be on it. So months in advance, you have to talk to them and be like, hey, can I come? And they go, yeah, we can fund that. If you write us a story, we'd like products out of this. We need you to do your job. You're not just going to Puerto Rico. And so I did that. I took good photos. I took that time. I was very grateful to go. I've been to Puerto Rico. I can say that now. I've been beautiful place. After the hurricanes and everything, it was not too long after that. And so I got to see that devastation, but also see the beauty of it. And man, it's a beautiful set of islands. Or island? I'm not geographically sound, so forgive me. But anyway, we're teaching this National Guard and Reserve unit, or several units, how to do the job that we do in the States, because they're actually part of our unit, just geographically separated. And we still have a responsibility to teach them. So I documented that. And so here they are learning how to throw simulated grenades, which is part of our job as facilitators of training. That's an inject, we call it. It'd be like indirect fire, like artillery will actually throw a fake grenade to be, and everyone goes, like, incoming. And so if we can simulate that, better training, or at least we train for that. And so we're teaching them how to do that. They did great. I don't think too many fires were set in this dry brush here. But look at this. I mean, beautiful mountains. And I got to be out there for it. I wouldn't trade this experience for the world. Amazing. I mean, look at the proximity of this guy. He is telling her what she's doing right, what she's doing wrong, what she needs to do. That, he's telling her, like, hey, remember your training. You got this. And that was our job, was mentors. Teachers, coaches, and mentors. Here's a picture of me delivering a dummy CPR. About to do my rescue breathing. My boss actually... Why is this in my portfolio? That's so weird. Anyway, my boss took this photo, so I think it's kind of illegal that it's in my portfolio. I'll take it out, put it somewhere else. But it shows me doing Army stuff. So, yeah, medical training. This is a photo I took at, I think, a Memorial Day ceremony. There's like a cadet down here doing something. Obviously, that's barely part of the photograph, but it's got the American flag in it. It's got the Lest We Forget, big themes for Memorial Day. I think I posted just this photo. I went out and I grabbed it. What time was it? Doesn't actually tell. It was not. Okay, never mind. The time was off. But it was like 10 a.m. I think I actually showed up late, but they were still getting ready, so it was good. This is one of the times where you can just take an artsy photograph, which is what this was for me, obviously with a lot of meaning behind it, and call it good. If there's a live fire exercise, you might post 10 pictures of soldiers firing, or you could post one good one of soldiers firing that really tells a story. For, like, if you were posting about the 9/11 attacks, you could post one photo of the Twin Towers and everybody knows what that shit is about. So the same goes for this. Like, you post this, what applicability does this have outside of a Memorial Day recognition? And so I took this photo and said, I did it justice. We've got, we honor our dead here. And so I did that here. Dropped highlights to show the sky, the flag, and this photo means a lot. This is just a group photo, these OCTs. I wanted to show that I could take group photos. They threw smoke grenades and we took a photo. Really great. It's good. You see all the gear they have. They have to carry so many notebooks and fake grenades, and there's a standard. It's the command sergeant major, and I think that guy was there for a while. These are all great guys. I know them all. Man, fantastic dudes. Really professional. This is somebody doing an obstacle course. You got to be there. You have to. I ran every time I photographed an obstacle course. I was there. I was there running. And I wanted to get photos of them at every obstacle in case something cool happened, in case there was a cool thing to photograph. They're really getting up there, they're sweating, there's adversity, they're challenged by this. I want to capture that. To do that, I've got to sprint with them, albeit they're tired, so I'm jogging. But every time I did one of these, I would get my ass kicked by the effort, but I'd come back and do it the next day. Always. I put out for this job, and you have to show that the reason you want those photographs so bad, the reason you keep annoying people to go out to events is because you want those photos and videos, because you will stop at nothing. Now, stop at nothing is a dangerous thing to say, because it was a lieutenant in the Marines that came to us and gave us a little speech at the end of our photojournalism school for the military. Most of the branches trained to go. I think the Air Force does their own thing, and the Navy. Fuck them. But he was like, there is no photo that is worth your life. And so when I say stop at nothing, I don't mean stop at nothing. I mean stop at safety. Absolutely stop at safety. If it is a safety issue, don't press it. You will die. You will. And so anyway, I come out here. I stay on the ground. Within reason, I get up in stuff because these people are moving. If you distract them and they fuck up and they slip, they could break something. And so you let them do their thing and you capture them where they are. There's a photo of somebody I know who does FPV drone flying, and he's got goggles on, and everyone is bewildered by it. He's extremely talented in building these things. This is a really cool photo, and I like this photo. It shows my ability to lock onto something that people normally wouldn't see. I was very far away from this. 165. To see this was, in my vision, very small. Zoomed in, autofocus, grabbed the picture. And yeah, this thing's been through some stuff, you can tell. So, another framing picture. I framed him and stuff. Variable states of focus here. Spectators, it tells a story. There are people, you can get the general vibe of this event with this photograph. I like this picture a lot because it just shows that he is about to rocket that thing. It's good. This is another one of those photos. There's room over here because he's about to rocket across. This is a video. This guy is about to shoot past the left side of the screen, so I leave that room there, and I get this photo. Luckily, it's cloudy. There's even light. While it's not spectacular, it makes sure everything is exposed pretty evenly. Here's another SWAT competition photo. Sergeant Bilo, amazing sniper, is ejecting around, and I get that point in time. You don't get to see this when you're on the ground. You can look at it, but it's gone like that. In this photo, I show people this moment in time. I let them sit there and watch. He has ejected that round. His hand has come off already. Has slipped off the handle here, and his round is out. And you get to see that here. And he's obviously looking at something. That's the mystery of it. I invoke a little bit of FOMO, fear of missing out, and you don't get to see that. But you get to see this. And this could honestly be a vortex site. It could be a advertising photo for any of these things. Maybe this would be an advertising photo for the headset. But, I really enjoyed taking these photos all the way out at 200 millimeter. This is when we had our Army cameras. That Canon 200 millimeter is powerful. It takes some amazing photos. I'm at f2.8 at 200 millimeter. That's a very expensive lens. That stuff did me well. I took some amazing photographs. Similar picture, guys on an obstacle. We're showing people watching. It's obviously a team thing, if not a spectator event. As far as these people go, he's got his, these look cool anyway. So, everyone's got the know-how. SRT says that he's on a SWAT team or special response team. He's got a bullpup sniper rifle. That's pretty niche. And so it just looks cool. He's obviously aiming at something. It's vague, but it means to be. I think it's a good photo, and I shot on manual, so a lot of this came naturally for me. I knew what I was going to have to edit, and I kept certain values at a certain place so that I could keep them even. There's another photo. I was definitely burst shooting here because when they blew the whistle or whatever and these guys had to go, I had no time to get this photo. And so I would, bam, as soon as my brain registered the whistle, and even before it, I held down on that shutter release button and luckily got this photo. I make sure I pre-focus and I am moving with them as they're going. I'm at 1/1600ths of a second here. That's super fast. Luckily, it's very bright out. The sun is out. You can tell by the harsh shadows. But these guys are all in various states of readiness, and it shows how different their setups are. Their personal rifles, because that's what they're using during this. But, it's got so much energy in it in varying states. It is entropy. This is a great photo. It shows potential energy. This thing is about to get fucked. This guy's big, and this thing is about to get blasted. And I wanted it to show that. It's got a police badge here. Everyone's being safe. These are good photos to get. When you're in the Army, you want to take photos like this. You want people to have their protection on. Usually ear pro if there's going to be live firing happening. They're only firing, training rounds. They're not very loud, if any rounds at all. And they don't need it. But, in their police, in this training scenario, they can wear, then go slick if they want, but they've got their stuff on. You want to make sure people look good. You want to make sure they've got their helmet strapped in because it makes for a cold-ass photo. It lets you know that these people have integrity and that this is about to go exactly where they want it to, and that they're professional. And I'm telling you, that strikes fear in the hearts of people who don't have that kind of focus. So, anyway, here's a photo of a tank. It almost looks painted. It looks mosaic, but that's just from the heat waves. That's not an effect. That is from the heat waves coming off of this tank, and from in front here, the exhaust and everything, and it's the National Guard. These people aren't looking where they're going. Maybe they're stopped and they're looking behind them. The turret's up. But it's a cool photo of a tank. I love it. And you can tell it's not an effect because look at the grass in the foreground. It doesn't have that sort of wavy deal going on. But this is a cool photo. I took this on the same day. It's got, you can see the heat wave effect from the exhaust stuff in the front. Dude is still not looking the right way. I think he's waiting for something. Got some imagery equipment here. It looks cool. It's got backpacks on or rucksacks on it. Great photo. You can tell they're on like a berm, a firing position. You can tell they're on a range. But the whole thing just looks so cool to me. I loved taking these photos. Sort of vehicle porn. This was an awesome photo of a PT event that really wasn't that crazy. Here's the thing about PT events, is that if it's like a competition, it could happen in the middle of nowhere and no one is looking, no one's around to see it, but the 10 or 15 people there, 20 or 30, and then when you're done, it's over. Nobody knows, nobody cares. If you are there as a photographer, there are so many things you can capture. Have you ever read a book and got done with it and realized that the whole book spanned maybe a few days and captured the perspective of one person, but you were enthralled? That is part of your job as a photographer. There is a clear mission here between this person and this implement. They're pulling this and they are focused, and albeit this happened within 10 or 30 seconds, who knows, you took a snapshot of this period in time where this person was dead set on pulling that damn thing. And you got the photo. It looks intense. Albeit this never went anywhere. This one maybe went on Facebook. This is an OCT. He's not even focused, but she is. There's contrast here. She's also framed by it. We've got leading lines. She is ready to pull this thing into the stratosphere. And I wanted to show that. This is it's not. It's crooked. That's my fault. I want to note one thing. It's the nature of the military is that people are in this field for a long time. This is Command Sergeant Major Steve Adams. He passed away while I was in service. He was my sergeant major when he had been relieved of duty by another sergeant major, I think. But he did pass away when it happened. And still processing that one. But outstanding Command Sergeant Major. Man. I can't say enough about him here. But just good Sergeant Major. These guys are getting grilled by the board. These are their sponsors behind them. They're the first and second place best warrior for our unit. And you can actually see here that I blanked out some stuff. It's pretty quick because it's a best warrior. And I had to be fast at editing all these because I wanted to go home. But these are all the sergeant majors of the units within our unit. And they're just getting, everyone who's been in this position is looking at this like, yeah, they're feeling for these dudes. So it shows. It's kind of an uncomfortable photo for anyone who's been in a board because they're like, oh God, I know what that's like. But yeah, it's an important photo because this man isn't here anymore. You know, the photos I took of this guy are some of the last photos that were ever taken of him. The photos I took and the photos that my superior took. You know, so there's an impact to the photos you take. They mean something. And I always took photos of the people that I could take pictures of because their families wanted to see them on the Facebook or whatever. So, man, I took a lot of photos because I wanted to highlight people because people are what it's all about. Soldiers first. Sergeant Bechet, she's an excellent S6. I don't think she wants to be highlighted here too much, so I'll respect her privacy. Was one of the people that kept me sane during my time in service. She was also an E5. I was an E5, and we bonded a little bit over that. Excellent NCO. I hope she's a staff sergeant now. I did capture this guy. Again, sort of like carrying the flags and the solemn duty they're in. Just shows like there's a bunch. This is like a change of command formation. I got in there, got that photo. They kind of, I'm sure people hate you for doing it, but you get in there and you get these photos. And before I go any further, I want to say something. You see that I get in there a lot. I get up in there and I take the photo. You want to get in there, you want to take the photo, and you want to do it all fast. Not lightning speed. No, everybody knows you can't do that, but you want to be ready to take that photo before you get up there. You can't get up there and go, You're pushing dials and you're spinning stuff, and you're like, That's great if you realize there's an unexpected mistake that you made, and you bring it back up and you take the picture. But you will, as you start taking photos, know what you need to be on, what settings your camera needs to be on before you get up there. Snap that photo, get the fuck out of the way. Because these dudes are moving. They can't stop for you. They're in formation. When someone says forward march, they're moving. Now, I'm at 105 millimeters here, and so I'm probably completely out of the way of this stuff. But you want to make sure that there's not even the capacity for you to be in the way. Don't trust your back pedal. You want to be clear. Or else you will get knocked down and your camera equipment might break and someone will get pissed at you because you fucked up the formation. So don't do that. This is a great old photo of me. I took this myself. The backdrop isn't that great. Some footlockers, not footlockers, but just shelving. It's kind of bland, but it is a snapshot of me. Very sweaty because the room that this was taken in was not air conditioned, but it shows my unit. You can tell I was a non-commissioned officer by the amount of rockers there. Really like a lawyer pose kind of a little bit, but I just took this to take it. Change of command, you want to show for ceremony stuff, there are a few ceremonies that's important for getting a single photo than this one for like a change of command or change of responsibility, because they are handing this flag, this symbol of their transfer of command or responsibility of this unit by passing this flag. And they do it. Some of them pass it and they talk. They go, "You did good. Look, these people are in your command now. Do right by them." Bam. And they pass it and they go. That's all the time you have to take the perfect photograph of this. So you want to be at the rehearsals and you want to make sure that you know which direction they're going. They're passing the flag around this weird diamond that they have of 4 people. And you want to get this photo of them looking at each other and talking. If it's a video, you want to... I've done it in video. And it was hard. It took a lot of rehearsing. But it came out amazing and people went nuts over it. And it's worth it. This will get framed potentially and go in someone's office as a symbol of their command over this organization. So some important photos. You take community relations. I get some photos. These 2 people knew the game. They knew that I had to get this photo. So they looked at me and went, "Ee." Look, public affairs, if you want to be a military photojournalist, you're going to take a lot of these photographs. It's just the fact of life. I thought I was going to be combat camera. Man, I thought I was going to deploy and take pictures of people raiding houses. Not in public affairs. Maybe sometimes. Who knows? I'm not to say. Because I've never done it. I've done it in training. That's it. But, you've got to take this photo. And I don't want to waste these people's time. So, again, you've got to make sure you take you've got the right settings and you're doing everything. Great photo. I like it a lot. Wish it was warmer. My NCO said it, but he said, "You like warm photos." Yeah, I like orange tinted photography. I don't know why that is, but I do. But it's a good photo nonetheless. Even exposure because the light coming in from the window is cloudy again. But I really like this. Taken during COVID-19, so we had to make sure that we took precautions. We were wearing masks. Another photo from the same. It was a command sergeant major. I took her, framed by the NCO arch that is used during NCO induction ceremonies. Very important. And got this photo of her. Group photo. Wanted to make sure that I had one of these in here. Another one. I took it in window light. Super fortunate that this building had a giant set of windows in the front. You can actually glean more from this than meets the eye. You can see the snacks, you can see the people, you can see the range, but she is clearing people before they get on the range. And excellent framing for an excellent master sergeant who retired, did a great job. She's actually in one of the flag photo, where they're sort of holding the flag. That's her. So she did everything. This is a cool photo, close up, just sort of an artsy photo, because this riot control, sort of like Sabo, entered the wood to give you any indication as to how hard these things hit. I went up and everyone was freaking out about this. They're like, "No way, it landed in the wood." And I took a photo of it when it got embedded because I knew it'd be cool to look at, And so that right there is a show of force. Another photo, I framed him in between these 2 people. They're both looking at him. He is somebody to pay attention to. He has our unit patch on. It solidifies him as somebody who is giving guidance and is to be paid attention to. And these people are on the range. So he's got the flag in his hand. It just shows a lot. In the little that it is, I stood there and took the photo, framed it up nice, and it is what it is. I didn't get a shell releasing, but I got the smoke here. And they were practicing with this, I think it's the M26 Mass, modular shotgun, whatever. And cool system. And is that it? No. I have to use the bathroom so bad. Can I pause this? I can't.